Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping in for a high-velocity, high-stakes analysis that's really less about some grand galactic conflict and more about, well, intensely personal failure and redemption.
It really is. The source material for this reads almost like a noir thriller. You've got two Jedi operating completely off the books,
Right.
and they're chasing this ghost from their past who has now become, of all things, a corporate behemoth.
Okay, so that's the mission brief, and I think it's critical we understand the personal stakes here before we even touch the plot.
Exactly. We're diving deep into this unofficial pursuit undertaken by Master Qui-Gon Jinn and his Padawan, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And their target is Xanatos.
Xanatos, Qui-Gon's former apprentice, who previously tried to incinerate the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. So this is not a council-sanctioned mission for justice.
Right.
This is Qui-Gon trying to fix what he sees as his greatest mistake.
Let's unpack that emotional core right there, because the relationship between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan is, it's the entire engine of this story.
It is.
With Qui-Gon, you can just feel this deep, brooding frustration in him. He failed to stop Xanatos once before, and he made this choice to save the temple rather than capture his fallen student.
And that escape haunts him. It's something he takes so personally that he's willing to go completely outside of normal Jedi protocols to pursue Xanatos.
And that personal mission, that obsession, it immediately puts his partnership with Obi-Wan under just immense strain.
Oh, absolutely. We have to remember where Obi-Wan is at this point. He is on incredibly thin ice with the Council.
Right, after Melodidian.
Exactly. He impulsively left the Jedi Order to intervene in that conflict, and that decision violated what the Jedi call the essential bond between a master and a Padawan.
It wasn't just that he left. It was a fundamental challenge to Qui-Gon's faith in the Order itself.
It was. And while the Council did allow him back in, that trust between them is, well, it's fractured. It's deeply broken.
What's really fascinating here is how Obi-Wan sees this mission. It's not just an assignment for him, it's a crucible. He feels like he needs to prove, under the most extreme circumstances, that he's renewed his commitment, that their essential bond can actually be restored.
It's completely make or break. If they succeed, maybe their partnership is cemented.
Yeah.
But if they fail, or if Obi-Wan falters,
he could be out of the Order for good. The personal stakes, just between the two of them, couldn't be higher.
Right. And they have to somehow put all of that relational baggage aside to hunt their enemy.
So how does the hunt begin?
The mission kicks off with some intelligence gathered by Jedi Nighthall, and it points them toward this corporate link, a company called Unify.
A Telosian company.
A Telosian company, yeah, suspected to be a clandestine front for Offworld. And Offworld, for anyone who doesn't know, is Xanatos' massive galaxy-spanning mining corporation.
So that's a huge early realization. The enemy isn't like hiding in some shadowy fortress.
No, he's hiding in plain sight, right behind a shell corporation.
Their plan to get into Thani, the capital city of Telos, it's classic Jedi infiltration, right? Just quiet, slip in unnoticed.
Totally. They arrive on a sleek space liner, and the idea is just to vanish into the stream of tourists. Simple.
But Xanatos is already a step ahead. He's working proactively.
Oh, way ahead. They are immediately confronted by what the sources describe as these stringent security checks.
And they're not random checks.
No, they're clearly focused on searching for escaped criminals, which of course is what Xanatos has labeled them as.
This is really the first sign that Xanatos isn't just expecting them. He's actually weaponized the local government against them.
The initial plan is compromised instantly. It forces them into this chaotic, high-speed evasion. And Qui-Gon, who is, the ultimate master of this kind of tradecraft, he relies on these really low-tech solutions.
I love this part. They grab bulky cargo bins of dried fruit and heavy sacks of solid grains.
Yeah, just to look like a couple of frustrated, preoccupied transport workers.
That detail is such a perfect little nugget of Jedi tradecraft, isn't it? The idea that the best disguise isn't a new face, but just looking too busy or too annoyed to be questioned.
It works for a moment, but the security police are really determined. The sources describe this frightening, fast-paced chase through the city's service levels.
You've got these Navy-suited security police on rooftops sweeping the area with electro-binoculars.
So Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are forced to rely on pure Jedi agility. They're using specialized gear-liquid cable launchers to scale buildings and navigate these service tunnels. They're basically urban climbers at this point.
The pace of that initial encounter using those launchers, it just underscores the danger. They can't just run. They need to find a place that is so crowded, so distracting, that even a systematic security search would be impossible.
And that decision leads them right into the eye of the storm, the one place that is drawing the entire city's attention, dominated by this one gigantic sign just flashing the name, Katharsis.
And this brings us to the central mystery of Telos. Katharsis is advertised as the source of wealth beyond imagining.
But as they're about to discover, it's not just an entertainment venue. It is the physical, psychological manifestation of Xanatos' corporate and personal corruption.
Okay, so once they manage to slip inside this Katharsis dome, they realize this isn't just a building, it's a planetary institution.
It's colossal. The whole thing is ringed with these massive screens and floating boxes. It's designed to inspire awe and, which more disturbingly, a kind of collective bloodlust.
The architecture itself seems built for distraction, doesn't it? The seating goes so high it's described as being lost in the vastness.
And the games taking place inside are horrifyingly brutal, especially for a society that was once known for its, high culture and art.
We're told about these swoop contests called Obstacle, where contestants have to narrowly avoid these destructive holograms.
And then there are the even more brutal vibroblade duels. They're fought on these tension cords high above the arena floor.
And these vibroblades, they aren't designed to be fatal, but they inflict serious damage. They carry a strong electrical charge on impact.
What's really chilling is the audience reaction. This isn't about sport for them, it's sadism. The source notes this dark energy swirling when contestants collide.
And the audience screams in delight when a contestant is carried out on a stretcher, severely injured.
This is where we sort of shift from just description to psychological strategy. Qui-Gon notes that years of peace and prosperity might have dulled their senses,
leaving the Telosian population craving bloodthirsty, pulse-pounding pleasures.
And Xanatos understood that. He understood that apathy, when you couple it with greed, is the perfect mechanism for mass control.
And that greed is the real engine of this whole deception. The entire population is consumed by the gambling fever around Katharsis.
Every single citizen is automatically entered into a free weekly lottery. And the prize pot is so enormous enough to be set for life that on Katharsis Day, the entire populace just empties into the dome.
It's a brilliant corporate tactic, in a horrible way. The promise of instant life-changing wealth doesn't just distract them.
No, it unites them. It unites them under this common purpose of hoping to get rich. The sources explicitly state that greed has entered the people like a fever, and it diverts their attention completely from what's actually happening to their planet.
Right. Why would you worry about subtle environmental destruction when you might win billions of credits tomorrow?
Exactly.
And here's where the plot thickens, and the true nature of the enemy is fully revealed. Xanatos isn't hiding at all.
Not even a little bit. He is introduced by the planet's treasurer, Vox Chen.
That has to be a gut punch for Obi-Wan. Vox Chen is the father of Brooke Chen, the student Obi-Wan battled.
A horrifying layer of personal irony. And Chen introduces Xanatos as the most beloved benefactor of Telos.
This has to be the moment Qui-Gon realizes the sheer scale of the trap he's walked into.
For sure. Xanatos' vast off-world fortune is being publicly credited with funding the restoration of natural parks.
Which is a move that allows the citizens to pay hardly any taxes at all. The deception is perfect. It's corporate evil completely disguised as public charity.
And the enormous screens are flashing this message. Katharsis protects our sacred spaces.
It's almost impossible to believe. I mean, Qui-Gon had to have prepared for every kind of deceit. Assassination attempts, hidden fortresses, shell companies.
But not this.
Not this. Not finding his ultimate enemy, the man who tried to destroy Telos years ago, now being publicly adored. Standing in a harsh spotlight, a hero to the very people he plans to exploit.
The strategy is classic Xanatos, but just on a macro level. He's not just avoiding justice, he's co-opting the entire system. He manipulated the public into believing he helped clear his disgraced father's name and is now the planet's savior.
And Qui-Gon gets it immediately. His mission isn't about finding Xanatos anymore. It's about tearing down a beloved public figure, which is so much harder.
And the threat is confirmed in the Force. Hiding up among the durasteel struts of the dome, Qui-Gon feels this sudden, sharp surge in the dark side.
Xanatos stops his speech.
He stops, sweeps his gaze over the massive crowd, and this slow, confirming smile spreads across his face, even though there's no way he could possibly see the Jedi physically from there.
He sensed them.
He sensed them, and that connection confirms Qui-Gon's intuition. The battle had begun. Xanatos knew they were on Telos. He just needed a way to flush them out.
And that mechanism was the security checks and the wanted posters. Xanatos didn't just bribe a few officials.
No, he integrated the Jedi's apprehension into the planetary security system itself. Qui-Gon later sees his and Obi-Wan's faces plastered on an information kiosk.
Labeled, wanted, galactic criminals, reward.
He fabricated their entire history, created extensive convincing records of their supposed galactic crimes, and this is just an incredible piece of strategic thinking.
By weaponizing the legal system and the local police against the Jedi, Xanatos made sure that every single Telosian was actively looking for them before they even touched down.
He turned their search for him into his hunt for them.
And that realization has to hit Qui-Gon hard. He notes that he brought Obi-Wan into this danger with his eyes open, believing they could operate in the shadows.
Right, and now Obi-Wan is trapped on a hostile world, facing immediate execution if he's captured, all because of Qui-Gon's personal failure to stop Xanatos the first time. The weight of that fractured bond is just immense right here.
So, with the danger level at maximum, the Jedi need immediate sanctuary. This forces them into an interaction with this unpredictable element we call Denatrix, or Den.
Den. He's introduced as this witty tech worker who helps them escape the Katharsis security.
Only to almost immediately lead them straight into a security police trap at a rooming house.
Den is the definition of a necessary evil. He's a complete chaotic wild card. When the security forces surround the house, Qui-Gon instinctively draws his lightsaber, ready to accuse Den of betrayal for the reward money.
But Den's reaction is just pure shock. He claims he didn't know they were Jedi, just that they were weird and on the run.
He calls himself a facilitator, not a criminal, and he quickly points out the hypocrisy to Obi-Wan that the Jedi themselves are criminals in the eyes of Telosian law.
Which forces the Jedi to confront the reality that on Telos, the moral and legal compasses are completely inverted.
But Den proves his worth through sheer, desperate resourcefulness. And we have to pause and just appreciate the glorious indignity of their escape.
There are no elegant force jumps here.
None. Den engineers an escape through a foul-smelling garbage chute, which lands them in a bin filled with rotten food.
And that's followed by a crawl through a muck-filled drainage pipe, all while speeder bikes are buzzing furiously in the streets above, searching for them.
It's such a grounding moment, isn't it? A stark reminder that even the Force can't magically bypass a really bad plumbing problem.
It's a necessary moment of humility, for sure.
And it leads to this critical decision point for Qui-Gon. After Den leads them into a trap and then facilitates this profoundly miserable rescue, should Qui-Gon trust him?
It's a huge question, and Qui-Gon's decision is based on pure intuition, and it feels like a massive risk. He reasons, who can hide us better than those who are already in hiding?
Right.
But I have to challenge that logic. Isn't Qui-Gon the experienced master jeopardizing the whole mission and Obi-Wan's life by relying on this gut feeling that Den's core is pure, especially right after a betrayal?
It sounds dangerously close to wishful thinking, I agree. It feels like it's driven by desperation. But it speaks to Qui-Gon's deepest beliefs. He trusts the underlying potential for good, even in a scoundrel. He recognizes that Den, despite his thievery, is inherently close to the oppressive system that governs Telos.
So it's an act of faith.
It's a total act of faith.
Yeah.
And that faith ultimately proves to be correct because Den leads them to the true resistance.
They end up at this hidden apartment, which is inside a giant rusting water tank on a city rooftop.
And there they meet Andra. She's the fierce, principled leader of this illegal party called Preserve Our Wild Endangered Resources, POWER.
Andra's organization had to go underground because the government, which has been bought and paid for by Xanatos, outlawed them.
Right, because they dared to ask why the stewardship of Telos' sacred lands was just handed over to the private interests of Unify.
As she points out, the citizens were too blinded by the elimination of their tax burden to really care who controlled their sacred places.
Andra immediately lays out the corporate corruption hypothesis, and it confirms all of Qui-Gon's worst fears. Unify is actively exploiting the land, not protecting it.
She reveals her original investigative team was killed in a so-called speeder accident after they gathered evidence at the sacred pools.
She's convinced the evidence was destroyed and that their deaths were orchestrated. She's sure of it.
This is a deep confirmation for Qui-Gon. The immediate threat, as Andra sees it, is that Unify is mapping the lands right now for off-world mining development.
The charity facade is just hiding massive resource destruction.
The friction between Andra, who lives purely on ideals, and Den, who clearly lives on credits and self-interest, is immediate.
Right.
And it's pretty instructive.
It is. She confirms Den's true nature. He is a smuggler who supplied her with black market tech when the power party first went underground.
And Dan, in this moment of just fascinating self-contradiction, reveals his true ulterior motive for helping them break back into Unify.
He agrees to help with the infiltration, but only because he secretly wants to rig the lottery.
He admits to Andra that he didn't finish the hack she'd already paid him for before he got caught up in all this.
He literally claims he has integrity in his theft. He argues, "I'm a thief, so let me steal." He wants to ensure he wins that enormous Katharsis fortune.
It just highlights his complexity. He's a self-proclaimed thief, but he has this secret commitment to finishing a job, even if that job is rigging a game that's already rigged.
He's an agent of chaos. But chaos is exactly what the Jedi need to destabilize Xanatos' meticulously ordered deception.
So with Den's grudging assistance now secured, they execute the infiltration of Unify.
Den uses his stolen ID and a gray unisuit, the uniform of the lowest level tech workers, to get them in the door.
And then Qui-Gon uses a Jedi mind trick on the security guard at the restricted files room, ordering him smoothly just to let them pass.
And Qui-Gon notes this classic Jedi tool is most effective on the weak-minded, which is a subtle reminder that this whole system relies on compliant, unthinking cogs.
Once they're inside the secure files room, surrounded by computers and holographic data, their objective is clear. Find any data linking the sacred pools to off-world mining.
But the truth isn't hidden by some high-level encryption or a single firewall. It's hidden by a flood of administrative waste.
Right. Qui-Gon realizes immediately that the hundreds of trivial memos correspondence about catering, repeated double checks on minor logistics, confirming conversations over comlinks, it's all a deliberate strategy.
This is a perfect example of corporate information warfare. The goal isn't to prevent access, it's to prevent comprehension. It's designed to stop examiners by burying the few crucial documents under a mountain of complex, confusing, and totally irrelevant data.
It's the sheer volume of the paperwork that defeats the investigator, not the quality of the lock on the door.
Exactly. And Qui-Gon connects this tactical choice immediately to his enemy. He notes that this obfuscation strategy is reminiscent of Offworld. It's a Xanatos signature move.
It's during this frantic, exhausting search that Den quietly makes his move.
The screen suddenly frees. It's a security alert, probably triggered by Den attempting his little side hack into the Katharsis lottery files, and he just slips out the door.
He claims he's going to nose around.
But Qui-Gon knows instantly. He has already abandoned us.
And seconds later, the inevitable happens. Security forces rush in, and the Jedi are arrested. They're charged not as simple trespassers, but as galactic criminals.
And they're swiftly thrown into this dank underground prison cell. Any hope that the charges could be, quickly dismissed as some local administrative error just vanishes.
This is the emotional low point of the entire mission, isn't it? But it is precisely here where the core bond of their partnership is finally forged anew.
It is. In the cold, isolating darkness of that cell, Qui-Gon drops his customary guarded posture. He admits for the first time that bringing Obi-Wan on this mission was an error in judgment, one driven by his own personal obsession.
And he goes deeper than that. He delivers the long-awaited apology that Obi-Wan really needed to hear to heal that rift. He sincerely apologizes for being harsh after Melita died.
And he attributes his reaction to his own failings, not yours.
This moment is so important. The source notes that this is the first time Qui-Gon has addressed the issue with sorrow, not with defensive anger. It's an act of pure vulnerability.
He's taking ownership of his mistakes as a master. And it finally allows Obi-Wan to trust his master again, knowing that Qui-Gon views their relationship as a true partnership, not just a hierarchy.
Their trust is renewed right before the true crisis hits.
And that moment of reconciliation is just brutally interrupted by the arrival of their nemesis. Xanatos standing casually in the doorway of their miserable cell, just gloating.
He confirms the death sentence, and not just that, but a death sentence without a trial. He says they were deemed too dangerous for open court proceedings.
The audacity is just chilling. He reveals he acted as the star witness, fabricating entire, extensive galactic records of their supposed crimes and escapes. It's a complete misuse of his corporate and governmental influence.
But the real cruelty comes next. It's a calculated, venomous psychological attack, and it's aimed squarely at Obi-Wan.
Xanatos weaponizes Obi-Wan's deepest source of guilt, the accidental death of Bruk Chun, Vox Chun's son, their former rival.
He sighs dramatically, reminisces about poor Bruk, and then deliberately makes this sharp, chilling crack with his hand, which is described as eerily close to the sound of Bruck's head hitting the rocks when he fell.
He asks Obi-Wan how he could have known he would deliver the push that killed him. This is manipulation on an almost existential level.
Xanatos isn't just planning to kill them physically, he's ensuring Obi-Wan's final moments are consumed by self-doubt and guilt over a tragedy that still haunts him.
It says so much about Xanatos' own darkness. He understands psychological weak points perfectly and will exploit them until the very end. His primary weapon is never brute force. It's carefully orchestrated despair.
So the execution is set for sunset. They're dragged out to the courtyard where this angry, manipulated crowd is screaming for their painful, slow deaths.
The sources emphasize that Telos has reverted to this more primitive, bloodthirsty culture, all thanks to one sly, corrupt man.
A scaffold rises up on repulsor lifts. It features these Durasteel hinged slabs, a chute, and vibro axes. It's all designed for a gruesome public spectacle where their heads would roll down to face the cheering mob.
They're hoisted above the frenzy in an energy cage. And Qui-Gon, despite the terrifying circumstances, maintains his laser focus. He gives the final urgent instruction.
They have to wait for the executioners to position them on those slabs, specifically for the moment when the energy bars retract.
That is their singular, terrifyingly small window of opportunity. The odds are, frankly, impossible.
So the execution sequence is set into motion. The energy bars retract just as the vibro axes are primed.
The Jedi immediately spring into action. Lightsabers flare, deflecting the initial surge of blaster fire. But just as they make their move, Qui-Gon notices this strange, erratic movement from one of the security swoops nearby.
It's the daring, timely rescue.
It is. Andra and Den arrive on stolen swoops, and they execute this incredibly precise maneuver. Qui-Gon allows himself only a split second to recognize Andra behind her cowl.
And Den, looking surprisingly determined, is flying right alongside her.
The swoops dive terrifyingly close to the execution platform, and they just scoop up the Jedi in midair.
This escape is just pure action choreography. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are holding onto the driver's shoulders, their lightsabers are up, serving as defensive shields, deflecting all the pursuing blaster fire.
And then comes the brilliant final maneuver. Andra turns her swoop so sharply, skimming so close to the prison towers, that Qui-Gon's hand actually gets scraped.
Which causes the pursuing guards to crash spectacularly into the towers.
They escape the city, leaving Xanatos standing tall in the courtyard, completely unmoving, his hatred just radiating across the distance.
Back at the water tank hideout, Andra is frantic. She's convinced they can never get back into Unify to get the physical proof they need.
Qui-Gon, however, turns to Den, and he reveals that he knew Den was looking up Katharsis files, not off-world documents, during their infiltration.
This forces Den's full confession, and it reveals the utter simplicity and, the elegance of Xanatos' corporate evil.
Den confirms that Unify controls Katharsis entirely. The government, including the governor and Vox Chun, they just want the people to think they control it.
But Unify created the entire lottery, paid off key officials to push the scheme through, and now the government is completely compromised. They're in Unify's pocket.
The strategy is brilliant. Use greed, the lottery, to create mass distraction. Use charity, the park restoration, to buy political and public goodwill.
And then systematically map and exploit the public lands right behind that facade.
Qui-Gon immediately recognizes this as pure Xanatos.
And most crucially, Den explains exactly how the lottery is rigged. This is the final piece of the puzzle.
He confirms that one winner is always pre-selected by Unify. During the brutal games, certain contestants are given faulty equipment. Not anything they would notice, but something slightly off.
Just to guarantee the pre-chosen corporate winner triumphs.
And that winner then splits the enormous prize with Unify, which maintains the illusion of legitimacy.
Den confirms he's tapped into the system. He knows exactly who the planned corporate winner is, this person, Elias. And by extension, he can substitute his own name for the pre-selected winner.
Which guarantees him a spot on stage with Xanatos when the grand prize is presented.
This confirms the two-part final plan. First, Den goes ahead with rigging the lottery to get on stage and expose the corruption from the inside.
And second, the rest of the team has to go gather undeniable physical visual evidence that links the land destruction directly to off-world.
They need that indisputable proof to turn the entire planet against Xanatos during his celebratory speech.
There's a brief debate over who should go, and Obi-Wan convinces a hesitant Qui-Gon of the sound logic of blending in. A boy traveling with a woman, Obi-Wan and Andra, is going to attract a lot less attention.
They'll look like a brother and sister on an excursion, whereas two Jedi Masters are instantly recognizable.
The infiltration of the sacred pools is horrifyingly dangerous. Their way in is through the mirror caverns, which are famous for this highly prized, rare Malab stone.
Andra immediately notices the environment is already devastated. The walls are chipped away, leaving these deep gouges. They're already mining this sacred place for all Telosians.
The landscape outside the caverns is truly ravaged. The crystal-clear, restorative water that Andra remembers from her childhood is gone.
It's been replaced by these black, steaming pools. Obi-Wan leans over one, and the cord from his survival pack just instantly dissolves.
This water, which has been polluted by the deep mining operations, is now highly acidic. It can dissolve organic material.
Andra's reaction here is deeply emotional. She talks about her distress, revealing that the pools were this profound source of comfort for her after her father died. So the environmental devastation here is deeply personal.
But they still don't have the definitive link to Xanatos himself. Obi-Wan, recalling the knowledge he gleaned from those hundreds of trivial Unify memos, pinpoints Tectome D.
Where the memos mentioned a concealed landing pad.
They find it, and there, among the supply bins, is the first smoking gun, a case of thermal detonators marked with the broken circle logo of Offworld.
That's the physical confirmation Qui-Gon needed. But then, the visual proof, the undeniable, massive proof, arrives from the sky.
A massive maintenance hauler descends through the open roof, clearly labeled Offworld in unmistakable laser pulse letters right on its side.
And it's unloading massive mole miners, the very deep digging machines Obi-Wan had identified in the memos.
They record everything. The detonators, the steaming acid pools, the mole miners, and the giant Offworld hauler. But recording takes time, and an alarm blares.
They have to steal a transport immediately.
Obi-Wan and Andra leap into a skyhopper, firing the engines just as the massive hangar roof begins its automated closing sequence.
The tension must have been agonizing. Andra is screaming they won't make it.
But Obi-Wan pulls this desperate, precise maneuver. He flies the ship sideways, clearing the rapidly narrowing opening by a single centimeter. The evidence is secure, and they are through.
So while Obi-Wan and Andra are racing back to Thani with that visual proof, Qui-Gon is setting up the final stage of the exposure inside the Katharsis dome.
He finds the broadcasting technician, this greasy man who's more focused on his meat pie, managing the live feed.
Qui-Gon, despite all the churning anxiety he must be feeling over Obi-Wan's safety, executes his plan with this almost unnerving cool.
He uses the Jedi mind trick, not just to override the official feed, but to ensure maximum compliance. He instructs the technician to load the captured footage after Xanatos' speech.
And with characteristic attention to detail, he even insists the man clean his greasy hands first.
It's a perfect illustration of his focused authority, ensuring every single variable is controlled.
The final game ends, and Den's name is announced as one of the 3 lottery winners. He takes the stage, and he executes this wildly theatrical yodel in full Den style.
He's standing right next to Xanatos, who's preparing to deliver his victory speech.
Den's showmanship is really key to turning the crowd here. As he accepts the prize, he forces the governor of Telos, the willing puppet in Xanatos' scheme, to read his pre-written prediction aloud.
The winner will be Kama Elias by 20 points.
Which instantly exposes the rigging, because Kama Elias has just won by precisely that score. The crowd is immediately confused. The illusion of fairness is just shattered.
Din doesn't give him a second to think. He grabs fistfuls of credits and crystalline vertex from the transparent prize box and just tosses them dramatically into the screaming crowd, maximizing the pandemonium.
And then comes the furious, crowd-turning speech, delivered at the exact moment Obi-Wan's damning footage of the devastation plays on all the giant screens.
He yells the truth. Every Katharsis contest is rigged. The equipment is altered. The winner splits the fortune with Unify. Unify is off-world. Our planet has been sold to the biggest mining corporation in the galaxy while we bet on a game.
And then he concludes, pointing directly at the source of the evil. And who runs off-world? The mighty Xanatos.
The public reaction is instant, it's overwhelming, and it's physical. The initial collective silence breaks into what the source calls a great roar, as mighty as the sea.
The crowd rises as one, and the focus shifts instantly from the fear of the captured Jedi to the betrayal of their so-called benefactor. That roar transforms into a unified demand.
Arrest him. Arrest Xanatos.
Xanatos, however, attempts one final commanding piece of manipulation. He raises his hands, waits for a fragile silence, and with incredible arrogance calls the citizens, "You pathetic fools."
He tries to suggest the images are just trickery, and offers to open the sacred pools to prove his innocence. And the crowd actually falters for a second, which shows you how hard it is to shake decades of subtle manipulation.
But his fatal miscalculation is trying to pin the blame. He points directly at Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, who had been caught just moments before Den's grand revelation.
He shouts, "They're the ones who switched the image tapes. They're the ones who tricked you." And that's the cue. The Jedi break free, lightsabers flashing, using the confusion to their advantage.
Chaos just erupts in the dome. Xanatos, quick as ever, leaps onto the winner's swoop and flees the arena.
Qui-Gon, who had hidden their own swoops behind a stack of benches, follows with Obi-Wan close behind. They correctly deduce he's heading straight for Tech Dome D in his waiting transport.
And the final duel takes place in the very landscape that Xanatos sought to destroy. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan corner him among the steaming fissures, the sticky tar, and the bubbling black acid pools.
Xanatos, desperate and cornered, focuses his energy entirely on Obi-Wan. He resumes his unrelenting psychological warfare about Brooke's death.
This is the definitive moment of Obi-Wan's character arc. It's the triumph of trust and growth over all that internalized guilt.
Xanatos is taunting him to admit your gladness that his rival is dead, trying to make the boy falter. But he's met with absolute clarity.
Obi-Wan stands firm. He recalls Qui-Gon's lessons in his own journey through grief.
And he asserts, "I grieve for a life lost, and I thank all who taught me for my grief. It does not make me weak, it makes me strong."
That emotional stability allows Obi-Wan to fight with this renewed, devastating focus that just shocks Xanatos. The two Jedi attack as one, driving Xanatos backward toward the boiling black acid pool.
Andra and Dan arrive on the swoops, cutting off the last remaining routes of escape. Xanatos is completely surrounded. He's staring into the acid pool, facing capture and justice.
He refuses both. In his final, ultimate act of malicious spite, ensuring Qui-Gon will never have the satisfaction of closure, he just leaps backward into the black pool.
The acid instantly begins to dissolve his body, and his last words, they're directed specifically at Qui-Gon as a final, desperate taunt.
"I am your biggest failure. Live with that." A chilling end designed just to maximize the lingering emotional pain for his former master.
With Xanatos gone and the visual evidence secured, the resolution for Telos is swift and overwhelmingly positive. Unify is exposed as the front for Offworld.
Investigations are launched into the payoff schemes. The governor resigns, and the treasurer, Vox Chun, the primary facilitator of Xanatos' schemes, he's jailed.
Katharsis is stopped immediately. And the citizens, horrified by how thoroughly they were hoodwinked by greed, they experienced this massive surge of civic-minded patriotism.
Scores of citizens contact Andra, hoping to join the newly legitimate power party. Telos is left in good, if unexpected, hands. The idealist Andra and the pragmatic thief Den now working together.
But the personal resolution for Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan is perhaps the most satisfying takeaway here. Qui-Gon's personal conflict over Xanatos' dark path is finally resolved. Not with justice, but with the necessary acceptance that Xanatos chose his own final dark end.
When Obi-Wan asks if Xanatos' death will haunt him, Qui-Gon confirms it won't. Not in the way Xanatos intended, anyway.
He recognizes that just as Obi-Wan carries the grief of Brooke's death, Qui-Gon will carry the weight of Xanatos' choice. But not as a personal failure, as a tragic lesson.
This leads to Qui-Gon's final profound realization. The Master cannot ultimately make the Padawan a success or a failure. He can only provide guidance.
He finally accepts Obi-Wan's independent character and his growth.
And he reaffirms their bond in the most heartfelt way possible. Qui-Gon tells Obi-Wan that yes, he must go back to the temple to formally renew his commitment with the Council after Melododon.
But he adds the words Obi-Wan truly needed to hear. He confirms the bond is now personal, not just institutional. "You are my Padawan, Obi-Wan. I do not need the Council to tell me so."
The partnership is restored. It's based on mutual trust and growth now. And Qui-Gon is proud to continue the journey, knowing that Obi-Wan's divergent temperament and sense of justice will inevitably challenge him again.
But this time, Qui-Gon accepts that challenge. He concludes that he looks forward to their future together.
So what does this incredible deep dive into corporate villainy and psychological warfare mean for you? Well, the most potent corporate evil that Xanatos deployed wasn't hidden in encrypted files or secret moon bases.
No, it was disguised as charity funding, natural park restoration. And as public entertainment, the daily, feverish, distracting spectacle of Katharsis.
And this raises an important question we should all be mulling over. What real-world distractions or apparent benefits, those things subsidized by powerful corporate giants or woven into the fabric of our entertainment, Are we currently accepting that might be cleverly concealing the destruction of resources or the manipulation of our own communities?
The best deceptions always make you pay for the privilege of being fooled, whether it's with your attention or with your resources.
Something to ponder until our next deep dive. Thanks for joining us.